Cimoooooooo!
What's going on, guys? It's Cimo, and welcome to another episode of Throwback Thursday, a series where we look at some broke-ass cards from the anime and apply them to the current meta. Now, this week's card is Roll of Fate, and for those of you who don't know what this ridiculous card does, I'll go ahead and let Joey explain.
Now I get to activate my magic card, Roll of Fate. Now, whatever number I roll, that's how many cards I get to draw from my deck.
Alright, so we've talked about some really broken-ass cards on this series that have to do with drawing cards. You know, Card of Sanctity, Card of Demise, the anime effect, of course. So all of these cards, you know, we have a lot of really broken draw cards in the game. So Roll of Fate just kind of falls into that category. So what you do is you roll a die, you draw cards equal to the number that shows up on the die, and then you banish that many cards from the top of your deck. So for instance, if you roll 6, you would draw 6 cards and then banish the top 6 cards from your deck. Now, we've had a card somewhat similar to this in Sixth Sense, to an extent. So Sixth Sense, you basically call 2 numbers, and then if you hit one of those 2 numbers, you would draw that many cards. Otherwise, you would send that many cards to the graveyard, depending on what the result came up to be. So what you would do is you would just call 5, 6. If you didn't get a 5 or 6, you'd mill a couple cards, and that was usually a good thing. But if you hit a 5 or a 6, you would go +4 or +5. And there's a reason that that card is now on the forbidden list. So, Roll of Fate, again, is just a perfect example of an outrageously good draw card. It's, at the very least, a 1-for-1, because if you roll a 1, okay, you draw 1 card, and then you just banish one off the top of your deck. But, at the very most, it's a +5, which is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. And the cool thing is, this card doesn't specify if you banish the cards face up or face down. Since it doesn't say face down, we're assuming face up. So think about if you're playing this in a deck like Cosmo, you could banish any of your Cosmo monsters and then recur them with Cosmo Town, basically just feeding into the whole way your deck plays, and just basically making it that you can plus even more outside of the fact that Roll of Fate is already an extremely broken card. Monarchs kind of works in the same way, you know, Idea is a really good card for recurring cards from the Banish Zone, so if you're banishing, you know, any of your Pantheisms or any spell or trap, basically, Idea can just go ahead and bring it right back, and then you're just right back in the game. You are so far ahead at this point that you should have no problem winning the game. I mean, this card's just absolutely insane. And just think about this. In the anime, they have all these different cards, but imagine if this were like in the real game, you could run all of these different draw cards in the same deck. I mean, assuming that none of them got fucking banned because they're that fucking good. But it just goes to show that, you know, if they come out with a card like this in real life, it's going to have to be much more restrictive on something. Like, you're not going to be able to special summon, or you'd have to do some, it would have to have some crazy heavy restriction on it. I mean, fuck. We have Card of Demise, it's one of the best cards in the game, and they still heavily hindered that card compared to the anime effect version. So, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Roll of Fate. Thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.
Cimoooooooo!